Good morning, everyone. I'm Sean Stanley. I'm the head of the Globe Content Studio, which is the content marketing division of the Globe and Mail. On behalf of the Globe and the Content Studio, I wanted to welcome all of you to our first virtual MarTech mornings. So this is a series that has been ongoing for about 2 years, but this is the first time we've done it in a virtual setting like this. Obviously, we are in extraordinary times, and we are here to talk about those and to talk about the impact those extraordinary times have had on the marketing and advertising industries. So this came on the heels of a blog post that I wrote a few weeks ago, which if you didn't catch it is available on the Globe Content Studio blog, just to talk about some strategies and techniques that advertisers and marketers can use in an age of COVID-19. And today we wanted to bring the broader community together to talk about some of those strategies. And we have a couple of really great guests here to join us today. If we could move to the next slide. So the Globe and Mail has something that we call the Globe Insider Panel. And the Insider Panel is a group of several thousand individuals who are part of the Globe and Mail's audience that we use for polling and surveying. And so about 1,300 members of that audience responded to a survey that we did around advertising during COVID-19. You will see some of the results here on the screen in front of you, but top line, one of the main things we found was that our audience believes that brands should continue to maintain awareness and connection with their audiences during this particular period. Just top line, a couple of things to note. The darker part of each circle represents, a fairly positive or neutral opinion around the question, and it's the lighter shade that represents a more disagreement position. But what you can see is that what our audience at least expects is that brands should be responding to the coronavirus in terms of how they can help their customers or offer practical information or support for frontline workers. Those seem to be the areas in which brands agree, or our audience agrees that brands should be playing in. If we could go to the next slide, please. We also wanted to know what types of stories this audience wanted from the Globe and Mail as a media entity. And this is important because, of course, we want to make sure that we are providing information and storytelling to our audience that resonates with them and obviously are things that they want to be consuming at this particular time. So you'll see that facts and advice type storytelling is important, which you would expect, especially because we've been giving our content on COVID away for free as a way to give back to the community. So updates on COVID-19, of course, very much wanted. Government strategies are important, and then information about how people are recovering and other figures around the virus itself and how it's spreading or being reduced are important to people as well. And then the other thing that I found interesting, and we're seeing a greater uptick in these requests from our audience, are that inspiration and escape type topics, as you'll see on the right-hand side of the slide, like things that are unrelated to COVID, are becoming increasingly important to the audience because they don't want to only read about COVID, they still want to read about other things as well. Next slide, please. So we have 4 guests joining us today, and our moderator will introduce them shortly. But I did want to point out that we chose these people for a reason, and it is because their brands are still participating on the advertising and marketing side during the COVID-19 period. Subaru, as an example, has a 30-second spot that highlights 2 things. One, which is a safety message, because that's sort of a brand message for them. But there's also a message around frontline workers and support for them. So there is a community message that's inserted as well. You can watch that video on YouTube. I'm not sharing it just for technical reasons. I wanted to make sure that we were able to move forward without any technical problems. So next slide, please. Another example, Labatt Breweries. 2 things I'll point out. On the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see 2 products, a hand sanitizer product and a canned water product. So Labatt very early on pivoted on the product side, which enabled them to then pivot on the marketing and advertising side. And also through their Stella Artois brand, they started a Rally for Restaurants campaign because, of course, restaurants have been very hard hit for the coronavirus. We will hear more about those campaigns as the discussion goes along. So final slide, please. With that, I would like to introduce my colleague, Catherine Scarrow, who's the General Manager of Globe Content Studio, and she will be the moderator for today's discussion. So Catherine, I'm turning things over to you. Thank you all for joining us.
All right, thank you, Sean. Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Catherine Scarrow from the Globe Content Studio. I'm super excited to be here. I brushed my hair, and I am not wearing loungewear for the first time in like 6 weeks, so it really feels great. As Sean mentioned, this is our first virtual MarTech morning, which means we may run into some technical glitches. If you have any questions or need help, please refer to the chat window. You may see it there. And at the end of today's session, we'll be holding a 15-minute Q&A. So if you do have questions for our panelists, please put those in the Q&A. It's a different tab, so just make sure you click it. And we will be providing some of these slides in our blog post-event. So if you want to learn more, you can find them there. So I just wanted to start off by saying you may know the saying, constraints breed creativity. Obviously, it's been a challenging time for everyone, including some of the world's top brands, as they navigate this COVID-19 landscape and start planning sort of for that post-pandemic world. But over this period of time, we've seen some incredible stuff coming out from these brands, which is why I'm thrilled today to be joined by some of the people responsible for these campaigns. Today, we've got Todd Allen from Labatt Breweries, Joshua Bloom from TikTok, Ted Lalka from Subaru Canada, and Uwe Stukman from Labatt Companies. Guys, I just want to thank you so much for carving out time for us today, and welcome to the panel. So gentlemen, now is your opportunity to give us your 60-second elevator pitch. Tell us who you are and what you do at your company. And Todd, I'd like to start with you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Todd Allen. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Labatt Breweries of Canada. I get to have the privilege to lead an amazing portfolio of brands from Budweiser, the #1 beer brand in Canada, to Corona, Stella Artois, and some local jewels like Labatt Blue, as well as a very robust Beyond Beer portfolio with regards to neutral, vodka soda, Palm Bay, Mike's Hard Lemonade, to name a few.
All right, over to you, Josh.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. Catherine, thank you. So my name is Joshua Bloom. I am the head of global business solutions for TikTok in Canada. And for some of you that might not actually be familiar with TikTok, we are a social entertainment platform. Think of us as a stage for performers, a field for athletes, a canvas for artists, and a sandbox for your biggest and boldest ideas. So what my team and I do, we are now a team of 20. We go out in the market and we partner with agencies and clients to develop relationships with consumers on our platform in an authentic way to help to drive their biggest and boldest business KPIs.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Over to you, Ted.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ted Lalka. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Product Management at Subaru Canada. Actually, my wife and I purchased the first Subaru back in 1985, and then I started working for Subaru Canada in 1989. My areas of responsibility include advertising, digital marketing, PR, auto shows, sponsorship, product lineup, vehicle pricing, telematics, and corporate governance and legal compliance. So it's a pretty wide range of things, and thankfully I've got an amazing team that helps me with these areas. So just looking forward to the discussion today.
Thanks so much, Ted. And Uwe, last but not least.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me, and thank you for hosting this. This is exciting. A nice break from the day-to-day routine and working out of my son's bedroom. So my name is Uwe. I run marketing for Labatt Companies. I've got the honor of leading some of the biggest brands in this country with President's Choice and No Name and Life Brand on the product side, but on the retail side, Shoppers Drug Mart, Loblaws, and No Frills, and Real Canadian Superstore. And it's been a really exciting, my 11th year, and I think the last 8 weeks are probably the most hardworking 8 weeks in my 11 years with the company. So it's been a very exciting time for us.
Yes, I'm sure it has been. Thank you, Uva. And just a reminder to everyone in the audience that if you do have questions for our panelists, please share those in the Q&A window, and we'll be getting to those at the end of today's session. So Todd, I want to start with you. Now, as Sean mentioned in the intro, Labatt was one of the first companies to pivot on the product side. So you announced that you were retooling beer production to make hand sanitizer in some of your facilities. Now, I'm curious how you also shifted your marketing efforts during that time.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, the first major initiative we did was to pivot production in our breweries across the country to provide hand sanitizer. And this isn't something new for us. We've always been committed to helping our communities and supporting them in our times of need. And we have an existing program called the Labatt Disaster Relief Program. So that was enabled us to quickly pivot to be able to provide hand sanitizers to frontline workers, to the Food Banks Canada, and to our partners in the restaurant and bar industry. We also provided we have an emergency drinking water, so we provided canned water to the City of Toronto to help them with their Toronto drop-in network, as well as their Streets to Home program. So those were, initiatives that we were able to do to help our community in the time of need. And more from the brand side, we really pivoted all of our campaigns, to be honest with you. Starting with Budweiser, the biggest brand, we redirected $500,000 of our previously planned sports investments with everything on hold to help support the Canadian Red Cross and their relief efforts to the COVID-19 fund. We did a merch collaboration with Peace Collective to all proceeds going to help support the Canadian Red Cross. Another one you mentioned, the big one being, the restaurant, bar, and pub industry has been hit really hard by this industry. 1 in 10 restaurants have already permanently closed in Canada, and over 800,000 jobs have been lost. So we launched the Sell Artois Rally for Restaurants program, essentially encouraging Canadians to buy a gift card to give these bars, pubs, restaurants immediate financial relief right now. And we're matching $10 for every gift card purchased. So we essentially started thinking, how do we help the community? How do we help put people first? And began retooling all of our plans as we move forward.
That's great. Thanks, Todd. Ted, Subaru's obviously been very active as well, pairing your safety message with gratitude for frontline workers in your advertising. And obviously this comes at a time when, like, a lot of brands are being hit hard, especially the auto industry, as consumers sort of delay those larger purchases. So how did you at Subaru Canada strike the balance between sort of keeping your brand relevant, but also pairing that with the community outreach piece?
Well, maybe the way I could explain it is the background behind the TV campaign that we ran. We actually purchased the media back in the fall of 2019. It was part of a strategy of a good, strong start to capture sale during the spring selling season. So it was done well before the emergence of COVID-19. But in March, it became very clear to us that our intention to promote product at that time was really not the right thing to do. Especially as everyone's so concerned with the impact of COVID-19. So we basically asked ourselves 2 simple questions. Number 1, what's most important to Canadians right now? And number 2, what role could we as Subaru Canada play in helping Canada get through this crisis? And we quickly came to the conclusion that the answer was thank you to frontline workers that were protecting us, allowing us to continue with our lives while they kept things going. So with this single focus of just expressing on workers, we met with our advertising agency, Alpha Kilo. We also worked with Rinaldi in Quebec, OMD, media buyer, to put together a TV spot to replace the spot we're normally going to be running at the time. That single focus, again, was just thank you for my work. And because we single line focus this message, we were able to get it from creative to on air in about 1 week, which is actually extraordinarily quick. And it just it seemed to be the right thing to do at that time, and that's why we did it. And I think it aligns itself very well with our brand. That is a brand that you can trust, and trust to product, and trust to do the right thing.
Yeah, that seems to be a common thread, doing the right thing. And Uwe, I want to talk about Labatt now, because obviously your business model has changed drastically over the past several weeks, going from a grocer to basically an essential service. And you've had to pivot operations on like a daily basis. So how do you, as the marketing lead there, kind of like instruct your team to be similarly agile, because it's a really every day there's something new. So I'm curious your thinking over the past few weeks.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, certainly we had to really adjust the way we work. So maybe as a backdrop, as an essential service, our number one job is to keep our stores open and running and operating as proficiently and smoothly as possible under circumstances. And this situation has changed every day with new policies being launched by various levels of government, and so we have a daily process where we look at what happened yesterday in terms of policy decisions and social sentiment and customer satisfaction feedback and feedback from our front line to really get together with a small team and make decisions, which is one of the amazing things for me in this time has been that we've been working from home in a decentralized way now for 7 and a bit weeks, and I think we are getting more done than we did when we were back in the office because we've streamlined decision making. From a marketing perspective in general, I would say we've turned off all of our brand advertising or pure brand building advertising. We've turned all of our demand generation activity off as well, because as you may have noticed if you've gone grocery shopping over the last few weeks, we've had plenty of demand. We didn't really need to drive traffic to stores, and it's more about crowd control and social distancing measures. So we've really taken a step back on driving people to our retail network, and really looked at our marketing efforts through the lens of being helpful, trying to be helpful in this crisis, and letting our colleagues and our customers know what's happening, and then finding a way to help people through again through information, but also through some inspiration, and depending on the brand, even with a little bit of fun, because one of the themes that I'm seeing right now is a pivot from and you said it in the opening comments, from just COVID stuff, and people are a little exhausted by it and want some inspiration and want some entertainment, and I think we can do that with some of our brands.
Right. Now, speaking of entertainment, I'm going to go over to Josh. And Joshua, when we think of TikTok, or at least when I do, I picture like teen influencers, goofy memes, dance and lip sync challenges. But in March, you launched a content partnership with the World Health Organization to provide timely, accurate information on COVID-19. So I'm curious how you measured engagement here, and how have users responded to this content? Because it's a little different.
So yes, throughout this time, we have partnered with trusted organizations like WHO to give our community access to accurate information and to stay safe and informed. On TikTok, WHO launched a program called #SaveHands. It's a hashtag challenge that people are very familiar with, to encourage users to practice hand hygiene, and also held a live stream to answer questions from the community in real time and provide accurate updates. It's our policy not to share usage figures, but what I can share is that the level of creativity that the community has shown to bring levity to such a tough time is incredible. There's a lot of inspiring, uplifting, humorous, and educational content coming from our community. Users are supporting and helping each other. And for example, hand washing has become a trending topic, and users are encouraging others to do it. We love seeing our community come together to amplify positive and helpful trends in videos, like Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive hand washing video, as well as WHO's Safe Hands Challenge. So when TikTok users also search related terms, for example, coronavirus or COVID-19, videos from credible services from like WHO or the World Economic Forum appear in top search. And we have an in-app banner that provides easy access to the Who website and other trusted resources.
Great. Thanks, Joshua. Todd, back to you. We're seeing a lot more people drinking alcohol again, which may be good for you guys, but fewer Canadians want to go in store for beer, obviously, at this time, which for your company must have been a big disruption to your distribution. So what changes have you made on your end to again, retool this and to communicate this message?
Yes, well, I think it's important to note that all retail is still open for both beer and alcohol sales. So the LCBOs, grocery stores, TBS for Ontario, and then obviously across the country. So they're still essential business that's still open. So first of all, thank you to all the frontline workers helping to keep everyone safe in those times. As I mentioned earlier, the industry that was hit hardest the most was the restaurants, bars, and pubs. So, that's why we focused on trying to help the industry with the Rally for Restaurants program. And to Uwe's point, I think what we're seeing now in the in-home occasion is a lot of new in-home occasions that have been accelerated. So we've been focusing a lot on the meal in-home occasion now that people are cooking and drinking much more at home. So providing partnerships with our local chefs across the country to provide inspiration for recipes and new occasions. That's also all linked to e-commerce to be able to get direct delivery to your home for both meals as well as your favorite beer or drink. We're also trying to keep people healthy because, people's mental health and physical health is extremely important during this time. So with Michelob Ultra, we've always had a very strong fitness platform. So we're partnering with Canadians' top fitness trainers from Barry's Boot Camp from across the country. We're doing live workouts every day at 5:30 on our Instagram live channels. And then we're ending that with a nice social happy hour, again, tied to e-commerce. So those are a couple of initiatives where we're trying to leverage new occasions. I think another big one is entertainment and socializing. So we've been doing some live streaming with our music platform on the Bud Light Dive Bar Tour, where we're partnering with Tier 1 artists. They're bringing live music shows to Canadians across the country. So really focusing on the meal occasion in home, providing relax and unwind opportunities, and then providing new forms of entertainment, all linked with direct ties to e-commerce.
Thanks, Todd. Uwe, you did touch on this. Presumably, you're seeing an increase in traffic to your website these days, and likely social media as well. I'm curious how this move to digital has changed your own marketing plans, and whether you expect some of these behaviors to kind of last post-pandemic. I mean, you're kind of guessing at this point, but I'm curious to see if longer term you expect Canadians to operate in a similar fashion.
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly seen a dramatic increase in our e-commerce uptake, and that's been amazing. And I won't talk about that too much, but from a marketing perspective, this adoption of our digital channels has given us access to what we call our own media universe of millions of Canadians that are through our PC Express online shopping and through the PC Optimum program. We have direct access through apps and through email to millions of Canadians, and able to get messaging out there to Canadians for us to build out this owned media infrastructure. It's always been our plan, but this has certainly accelerated it, and we're working with you guys to help build out some of the content on our content platforms. So PC Insider subscription, which is subscription-based program, but for now, during the crisis, we've made the content available for free to Canadians on the Insiders platform. We've partnered with 15 chefs to do some cooking tips, much like Todd was talking about. People are cooking a whole lot more than they ever have been, and are looking for inspiration. our traffic is up, several orders of magnitude, literally, on our content sites as people are searching for that content, and we have the ability to drive them to that content in a smart way through our own media channels.
Right. Now, speaking of food, Ted, I want to throw back to you because Subaru of America has been really hard at work contributing to food security initiatives. And I'm curious, are you coordinating efforts with your colleagues here in Canada or with your colleagues in the US? Or are you focusing on sort of Canadian-specific campaigns?
Yeah, that was a great initiative taken by Subaru of America, trying to help those individuals and families who've really been hit so hard by COVID-19. In Canada, we've taken a slightly different approach. What we've done is we've partnered with our dealer network. That's almost 100 dealers across the country, and we're matching donations they're making in their local communities. So we know that our dealers always have been and continue to be very supportive of the communities they're in, and they are on the ground and realize and identify exactly what needs to be done and will have the most positive impact in their communities. So we're matching donations they make just to make their efforts even that much more effective.
Right. Thank you. Now, Josh, back to you. We talked about TikTok. I mean, it really is having a moment right now. I think we can all agree. And I'm curious for brands out there who maybe haven't made the move yet or never felt like it was right. I'm curious what brands you've seen in the last, say, 7 weeks that have been really successful leveraging this platform and really kind of stood out in the crowd.
Well, we've seen many brands helping to build a sense of community and support with the TikTok community during these tough times. And whether they're bringing awareness to critical initiatives like social distancing or using TikTok as a channel to stay connected with their community, brands are creating authentic communities built on the foundation of sharing joy. So let me give you a couple examples. ELF, which stands for Eyes, Lips, Face. It's a U.S. cosmetics brand. And they teamed up with Il Bueno to make a remix of the brand's iconic and viral campaign from last December and turned it into a viral PSA about how to stay safe during the coronavirus pandemic. They called it Eyes, Lips, Face, Safe. In partnership with public health officials, P&G is stepping up with our partners to help people practice physical distancing to help show the spread of the coronavirus. We created a social media campaign with one of the most well-known TikTok stars, Charli D'Amelio, to creatively get young people to do just this through a concept called the distance dance. The NFL created a campaign called Stay Home, Stay Strong, another PSA campaign to encourage fans to stay home and stay happy and stay strong. The NBA has been using this time to connect with their community and post great videos where they duet with users who are doing awesome moves from some of their players. And then finally, a really cool one, a company called HEB, H-E-B, it's a local grocery chain in Texas, launching a campaign called Texans Helping Texans, in an effort to bring the community together and stay positive during these times. They called on TikTok users to share their favorite Texas-inspired recipes and self-care tips, spreading positivity and staying connected to friends and family while we're all at home.
Great. Thanks, Joshua. Now, I'm going to put the other panelists on the spot here for just a second, because Joshua, you provided us with some examples of brands doing really great things that aren't your own. So maybe Todd, is there a brand out there that you are really particularly admiring right now during this COVID time that isn't Labatt? Like, are you seeing something really cool that you can share with our audience?
Sure, great question.
That was not.
Sorry, guys. Surprise.
Yeah. No, way to put us on the spot. No, I think kudos to all the companies, to be honest, that are stepping up to help, hero the frontline workers. What I really enjoyed is seeing the different companies come together. I think last Sunday you saw Stronger Together. You saw all the major networks across all of Canada unite, bring the best of Canadiana together in terms of arts, music, sports, culture, to really, obviously they were raising money as well for Food Banks Canada across the country. So I've just loved the sense of community that's come out of this, with all the companies trying to do their part to make a difference in Canada. And I think, as we've said, we've now been in this phase of preserving and protecting. I think we now need to shift a bit more to, giving people some levity and some relief during these tough times, whether that's through entertainment, whether that's through, informative information. I think, I really enjoyed last Sunday with the Stronger Together, with all of the media brands that came together to bring a really unique production to Canada.
Thanks, Todd. I agree with you, and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. Thank you for going first. I'm gonna go over to Ted now and see if he can share an example of a brand or an initiative that he's enjoyed in the past few weeks.
Well, it's interesting to see the shift in the tone and the feeling of the messaging that's coming across. I think what Canadians are looking for right now is some positive news, some encouragement. I'm starting to see it in certain campaigns. The two that come to mind would be the one from Bell Canada, and the other one is TELUS. And I think it's just Canadians are looking for a brighter future and seeing ourselves get through this. We recognize that we have to still continue the fight, do all this social distancing and isolation control thing. But they're looking for an optimistic and positive message. And you can see most of the campaigns now shifting over to that area. And basically tone and just the impression that is being conveyed.
Thanks, Ted. And Uva, what about you?
Yeah, maybe I'll take a bit of a contrarian point of view. I think it's been a bit of a sea of same. If you watch, and there's been lots of parody. If you're a student of marketing, you would have seen a lot of parody videos about how every ad that's on TV right now is the same thing. That starts with a nice little sad bit of piano, and we're all in this together, and ends with some crescendo about how my brand is helping. And I think that's been oversaturated. So I think consumers are looking for positivity, and I totally agree that the broadcast and having all major broadcasters come together and share this broadcast was amazing, and the response to it was amazing, and it shows you that people are looking for positivity and are looking for some bright lights. So I haven't seen, one of the things that I think has been interesting is the social media platforms, and I'm sure Josh can talk about that really have tried to be helpful in this time, which is interesting, that Google, Facebook, and others have really attempted to find a way to positively contribute to this, and I think that's an interesting observation anyway.
Thanks, guys. And I will put myself on the spot as well. One program that stands out to me, and it's sort of a shameless plug in a way, but we've been working with the We organization over the past few weeks on a very cool print and digital section where their team has provided great resources really focused on mental health and directed to parents who are at home trying to homeschool their children. And it's just really great, useful, uplifting content, and really something that I haven't seen a lot of. So I was really pleased to be a part of that. But it was just something that was a bit unusual, but really I hope moving forward is something that we see a little bit more of, really just practical content that acknowledges that we're in this weird period of time, but provides a bit of a roadmap and a feeling that we are in this together. So thank you for letting me, for indulging me on that question, because I know that wasn't in your notes earlier. But back to you, Uva. I liked your contrarian view, but I want to now ask you to kind of provide a little bit of advice to brands moving forward, because if we're in the sea of sameness, how are they going to differentiate, once we get back to normal? And I say that in quotes. So what advice would you provide?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, because I think a lot of brands are thinking about what that new normal is, and what the permanent shifts in consumer behavior and consumer sentiment in the psyche of Canada are going to be. And it's quite difficult to predict that. So we do lots of research, even overseas, where they're a little ahead of us in this outbreak, and to try and figure out what are the things that are going to stick in terms of different behaviors. So I can't really let that cat out of the bag just yet, but we're working on things that are not going to be about celebration of how well we've all been together and all of that stuff. We won't do any celebrating Canada flag waving thing, but I think there's a way to tap into the emotion that's been created by this in a way that I think can be brave and bold and different. So I would say the lessons learned for us are really about ways of working. So the way we work right now is refreshing and different. I haven't done any PowerPoint decks in weeks, and I used to do like one a day. So that in and of itself is massive. Our decision making is faster. The team's much more empowered, much more agile, and out of that, I think will come some great work coming out of it. I would just encourage people to be brave. I think everybody's been very afraid to step on a rake or say something inappropriate. And I think consumers are ready to listen to some different things.
Okay, cool. Now, Joshua, over to you with TikTok, because it is one of those platforms that's really kind of known for being relatable, raw, authentic. So what advice would you give to brands that are trying to communicate on TikTok appropriately and they feel authentic, but in this sort of post-pandemic world, if you can forecast that?
I just want to add, I love Uva's comment about brands wanting or should be becoming bold. I think it's just incredibly important to kind of get comfortable outside the box. But TikTok is really all about creativity and authenticity. And, our mission is pretty simple. It's to inspire creativity and bring joy. And so when we think about the best of the brands on TikTok during this crisis, it's not really all that different than the best of people during this time. So overall, the TikTok community has come together, and that very much has included both people and brands. So let me see if I can give you a few examples of how we've seen brands evolve their messaging to speak to their customers' needs. The first one would probably be connecting through brand values. So brands have creatively re-expressed their brand values in the context of the new norm, lighting up their values in new and meaningful ways, thus connecting beyond their conventional product and service. Compassion is in action. We believe people care about not just what brands have to say, but what real actions that brands take. We've seen impactful examples of brands acknowledging the vulnerability of their customers, listening with care, taking real action to find resolutions that are truly sensitive and compassionate. Also, transparency and credible information. Many brands are thoughtfully communicating credible information and keeping transparent commentary on what they're doing to keep their customers connected. And then there's useful and considerate support. It's been crucial for companies to respond quickly and offer support. We've seen brands go the extra mile through offering free deliveries, applicable discounts, membership extensions to foster longer-term connections.
Thanks, Joshua. Todd, over to you. Do you think that the brands that are stepping up right now, not just Labatt, but others, are going to benefit from that sort of long-term halo effect for the efforts they're making now? Do you think customers will remember this time, or will they forget?
Well, I think it's brands, as Joshua said, brands that are staying true to their purpose and their core meaning on how they bring value to people's lives will always win in terms of no matter what situation you're facing. And I really believe that anytime you have a people first approach and you're trying to help your people, your communities, the cities, the towns you operate in, if it's right for them, it'll be right for business in the long run. So that's our approach, stay true to our purpose, try to help our communities and people in times of need, and the business results will follow.
And Ted, over to you. Have you given much thought to your post-COVID marketing plans? And maybe could you share what that may look like for us here in the audience today?
Well, first of all, I agree totally with the comment made by Todd. It's an issue, one of credibility and being true to the brand. I think those brands that have already been investing, I'm not sure if you hear that sound, but
that would be me.
For those brands, so those companies, organizations have been working on the strong brand message from a while ago. The ones that are going to resonate with a lot of people. And I think it'll.
This is the beauty of working from home.
Yeah.
I love it.
I am now in another room.
Do the vacuum cleaning then.
I know. I'm like, Mom. Sorry. My apologies. Continue, Ted.
It's all about credibility. So those brands who've been investing in their messaging, in our case, it's about safety, it's about trust, it's about enabling people to get out and lead active lifestyles. If you've been communicating that brand message consistently, it will be seen as credible. And I think that what it means is going forward, you have to dial that up even more. In the automotive industry, quite often we get stuck as an industry in terms of inventory clear out of older vehicles and talk about interest rates. But I think you're going to see a lot more focus on the brand messaging. But the ones that will come out ahead are the ones who have done it consistently. And certainly that is a direction that we're going to be focusing on.
Thank you, Ted. And apologies for the noise. I'm now in another room. We are now in the portion of our talk where we're going to be taking some questions from the audience. So thank you for sharing those questions. I've got a few queued up here. So I will try to direct this where it makes sense. But our first question comes to you from Michael Marini, who I actually know. He's from the city of Hamilton. And his question is, understandably, for the last several weeks, the narrative has been highly technical. So wash hands, tracking the curve, really scientifically focused. In the next phase, do you feel like the same emotion and storytelling will be part of brand strategies? I don't know if someone wants to answer that, or I can maybe just pick someone. I feel like Uva might have a response to that one. But feel free to jump in. No?
Yeah, anybody want to jump in on that one? Will you bail me out?
Yeah, well, sure. The next phase is really all about reopening and reigniting as, we move from post-peak into a phase of, government restrictions starting to open up in terms of non-essential. So I think, we're going to go through a phased approach from where we were in lockdown and trying to provide for the needs and emotional, functional needs of our people. I think now we're going to help, play a role in reopening and reigniting the economy and the business. And that's the role we play as big companies to help do that in a responsible way. And then there's going to be the future normal, the future state of where we've talked a lot about changes in consumer behavior, changes in new occasions, new need states. What are those that are going to be here for the good that we need to revise and adapt our strategies to those? So I think it's going to be a phased approach over the next number of months. But, back to what we've all said, staying true to your purpose, your values, storytelling, entertaining, providing utility is going to be critical. So that's where brands, are going to stand out and have more relevance and create more connections with their fans. So I think we're on a journey. And I think we're moving into the next phase over the next couple of months as things start to change in a post-peak world.
Thank you, Todd. This one's going to be over to Josh. So we have a question from Steve, and he says, I know Josh can't get into specifics around metrics, but could he speak in broad strokes about engagement with the World Health Organization compared to what you would normally see with TikTok from traditional users?
We've certainly seen that the hashtags, as I mentioned, like coronavirus and COVID, have been some of the most popular ones that we've been seeing, as well as some of these call them hashtag challenges that are relevant to the pandemic. But yeah, overall activity has been absolutely monstrous. And so at some point, I'm sure that we are going to sort of summarize everything together. We'll call it post-pandemic. But for the meantime, yeah, it's kind of difficult to really kind of do this on a day in and day out basis.
Thanks, Josh. So we have a question from Fatima. Are you guys seeing anything unique or interesting on the sort of business to business side? Because most of you are on consumer brands, but is there anything worth noting that may be a little different, or just something you want to point out that for the B2Bs out there, maybe there's some advice you could provide? Ted, I don't know if you want to tackle that one.
Yeah, what I can do is talk about our relationship with our dealer network. It's been very inspiring to see how dealers are coming up with innovative ways of servicing their customers. First, it was just simply about providing regular maintenance and repair to their vehicles. And they recognized very quickly the need to provide a sense of confidence and assurance to people coming into the dealership. So they've come up with some really innovative ways of taking vehicles in without really getting in contact with customers, doing the repairs, doing all the preparation of the vehicle before it's handed back to the customer, so the customer knows that it's a vehicle that it's going to be clean and properly treated. Dealers can sometimes be very competitive. What we found in this situation, they're actually sharing ideas with one another to come up with new ways of servicing customers.
Very cool. So I have a question now actually for Uwe, and it is about the grocery sector. So what trends are you seeing right now emerging, Uwe? And do you think DTC, like direct to consumer, will become more of a path forward during these times? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly see a dramatic increase in e-commerce. That is, and both e-commerce from a delivered to the home, which is in partnership with Instacart for us, and e-commerce for curbside pickup, which has had massive growth. And I think some of those behaviors will likely stick. They'll likely stick around for some time to come. So that's one of the bigger trends. And the other one is now we do a lot of co-marketing with our consumer packaged goods vendor community, and that's certainly been challenged over the last few weeks as well. Our Lalka media business, which connects CPG companies with the right kind of digital audiences, and as we're thinking about direct commerce, of being able to sell directly on our websites much more, to a much greater degree than we have in the past, I think that's going to be something that's going to be very interesting in evolving our relationships with our CPG partners.
Okay. Thanks, Uwe. Joshua, what are TikTok's plans to drive bottom funnel goals for brands? And this has been a popular question. We've had a few people ask about this. Or do you have plans for this?
Yeah, it's all in the works. We are currently still in the launch phase of our auction here in Canada. It's been in beta now in the United States probably since September. I'd say what we're doing really well right now is top of the funnel and mid funnel. But in regards to, let's call it digital commerce and offline transaction, we're still a little bit of a ways away. But the company moves incredibly fast, and I imagine that you'll probably see within the next few months, starting to roll out some products that will allow companies to really start to measure bottom line results.
Okay, thank you. Here's a question from Chris, and she says she understands that a lot of brands will have to be consistent with their core messaging strategies, but do you panelists, and it's sort of open to everyone, do you see your marketing, your media mix changing in the next, say, 3 to 6 to 9 months? Like, are you already planning that far out, and will that mix change? So why don't we throw it over to Todd to start?
Yeah, well, I think it will change. You know, we need to stay ahead of the reopening plan, where consumers are going. You know, I think one channel that was impacted big time was out of home. Everyone really pulled out of home support during this phase as people were sheltering in place. You know, I think social, digital will continue to be a huge importance of channel. I think, you know, you've seen even in this period we're in now, it's surging on TV. On news-related programmings, on entertainment-based programming. So, yeah, we're going to continue to monitor. We'll go where the consumer goes. That's where we always do. So we need to stay ahead of where the consumer's going from a media consumption perspective, and ensure that we're being relevant in the right channels going forward. So it's a fluid process. I'm sure my colleagues, I don't know how many plans and replans I've done in the last 7 weeks. I feel like every week is a new year that we're planning for. But yeah, that's part of the situation we're in, and we'll continue to monitor as the country reopens safely and slowly.
Does anyone else want to weigh in on that question before I move on?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's been you know, obvious shifts in media over the last little while. The big one for us is flyer. You know, the you know, the backbone of you know, retail that's been around forever and ever. And you know, the last few weeks, out of necessity, really, we've turned much of our flyer activity off completely, and have really restricted some of it because of a whole host of reasons. And you know, we'll see if we turn it back on at the end of this. That's one of the big question marks. Is that coming back? Is that you know, I always call it the Neanderthal of marketing. In some ways, it's literally the one size fits none. You know, put the same piece of communication in every home in Canada, and we'll see if that comes back at the end of it. It's something that is a very interesting experiment that we're running out of necessity right now.
Ted or Josh?
Well, from our side, you know, we have always been carefully monitoring, you know, the media that we're using. And part of it has simply to do with the target audience you're trying to reach. So, for example, if we're talking about a performance car like our WRX, digital online media makes the most sense, connects with those people very well. Other vehicles like, for example, our Outback, TV still continues to be a great way to reach those people. So we will continue just evaluate every single media purchase we do as we go forward. But I think the reality is that virtually every organization is having a real tough time getting through this period of slowed down business. So there's going to be a higher expectation for the ability to measure return on investment for any media that's being purchased.
Thanks, Ted. And Josh, you want to add any commentary?
I mean, just more because we're the platform rather than the marketer. I don't know if there's much that I can really add to this. What I can say, though, just kind of switching direction, is I'm very curious to see what the new norm is going to look like for business practices. You know, for my company, as an example, in our global business solutions team, there have been more employees now that have never stepped foot in an office than have. And that's just an incredible statistic, that this new norm of a virtual workplace. And we have found it to be very successful. I've literally gone from 0 people, or basically myself in October, to over 20 people now. And the majority of those folks have literally never stepped foot in my office. And we've created an unbelievable culture in this new workplace. And I'm curious to see, just due to the cost, of real estate, whether or not you're going to see a lot of businesses change their practices.
That's a very interesting point, Joshua, and a nice segue to a question we have from Sylvia about how you guys are all engaging with your teams and agencies to produce such great creativity in this distance environment. And I'll just add my own note. We hired someone during this time, so she has not been in the office. She hasn't met our team, but it's been amazing from our point of view how quickly we've been able to kind of onboard her and make her fit into the culture of our team. So we've seen some really interesting side effects at the Globe and Mail, and I'm sure you guys are feeling the same. So I'm curious, before we run out of time, I'd like to go through each one of you guys just to see how you have adapted and how maybe some of the good that's come out of this period. And Uwe, maybe I'll kick it over to you because this is something you touched on earlier in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. We've been talking about agile processes and more working from home, and we've been dragging our feet a little bit, and this has forced us into this new mode, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. I think there's a need to over communicate, and to I have a daily huddle with my team every day. There's not always something new to say, but we're really trying to get into a rhythm where we touch base, more often. I've got a lot of coffee chats every single day where I talk to one individual on my team. Where it's been really challenging, and I think we really have to still figure it out, is work from home with young kids, and that's been a real pressure point for some of my colleagues, and the longer this goes on, the more worried they become about their ability to be productive in a work environment when they've got young kids. I've got a couple of single moms on my team who have been really struggling with that, and to try and find the right support for them to set them up for success, and to adjust our expectations around what that looks like and feels like is something that we've been working hard at, so that nobody feels like they're being left behind.
Right. I can certainly empathize with the small children at home and trying to get work done. You just need to hire your niece or someone to. Anyway, I'm fortunate that I have been able to do that, but it is a stressor for sure. Todd, what about you? What have you seen at Labatt that maybe during this time was kind of a nice side effect of the COVID situation?
It sounds obvious, but just the speed that we can move at now. I think this crisis has proven to our agency partners, even now we have our own in-house creative engine that's fueled by data and technology. So we live in a hybrid model of external agency partners as well as our own internal agency. And both teams have been incredibly resilient, and just how fast we can move has proven, we like to say we need to move at the speed of popular culture, because our brands are involved with sports, music, entertainment, and in order to move at the speed of culture, as you know, at the Globe, you need to be publishing daily, having a one-to-one relationship with your fans. So the one side benefit is it's proven to our team how fast we can work, how quickly we can move, and hopefully that will stay with us as we move forward through this.
Thanks, Todd. And Ted, what about you? Like in your corner of the world, how has Subaru Canada worked with its partners during this time?
Well, like from just within our own organization, working from home was not a concept that we had. It was something that we're looking into, but this got forced on us, and it's worked out incredibly well. The level of communication within the teams and between cross-functional teams has actually improved significantly. Decisions are being made. I'm seeing results being achieved at least as fast, if not faster, than what they were before. The other thing is we have multiple teams that we work with. From a creative standpoint, we are agency. Zulu Alpha Kilo is our agency of record, but we also work closely with an agency that we worked with for many years, Group Rinaldi in Quebec and OMD. And actually, we've been able to connect very well with those different organizations, and it's actually helped us get things done more quickly than ever before. This afternoon, we happen to have a hour and a half long conversation with a team at Subaru of America. We get into long, lengthy discussions about many different things, and I'm just finding all of us being so much more informed than before. And I think individual team members within our organizations are actually more aware of all kinds of things that are going on that give them a better perspective of our overall business.
Thanks, Ted. And Joshua, you sort of kicked things off, but I'll let you add a few comments if you'd like.
Sure. I mean, I'll just say the one thing, and what's worked really well in terms of just having so many new hires come on board in this virtual workplace. We, every day of the week, we do a 30-minute huddle at 9 a.m. And the huddle has absolutely nothing to do with business. It is just to get to know each other on a more personal level. And we do a ton of sharing with everything from our favorite TikTok videos to photos of us as children to our favorite movies and TV shows and quotes to doing TikToks. I mean, we literally have come up with different scenarios for every single morning. And honestly, over half the team has sent me private messages saying that this experience has been unbelievable for them because they've gotten to know their colleagues better than they would if they were actually in the office.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you all for sharing that. Unfortunately, we are out of time. It is 11:01 now, but I would like to take a moment just to thank all of you, our panelists today, for sharing your thoughts, expertise, and your cool marketing initiatives with us, the Globe and Mail, and our audience today. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Globe Content Studio. We will have our next MarTech mornings, likely virtually, on May 20th. To learn more, follow us on social. And just thanks again, be safe, and take care, everyone.
Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.